Don't forget, we have to be at Carol and Benny's by 6 in the evening, reminded me of Kelly. Sorry, let's start over. My name is James Barrymore, her husband. I mean Kelly, the wonderful, loving wife I married 6 years ago. Understand? Fine. With irritation under my skin, I muttered, "No problem, honey. I just need to drop off some technical documents Leonard before he goes on a business trip. I'll stay an hour maximum." Kelly paused at the bedroom door, her well-proportioned 5'4" figure leaning sensuously against the doorway, her blonde hair cascading down her shoulders. Sorry to interrupt your attention, but Kelly actually has rich brown hair, and I honestly don't understand why she insists on dyeing it blonde. Okay, I like blondes, but that doesn't mean I don't like her hair in its natural color. You always say that, Jim. Sorry, this concerns my trip to Leonard, to give him the documents that I told her about, not about her dyed hair. I'm already starting to prepare, and I want your solemn word that you won't get stuck talking about work, as always. I don't understand why we have to spend so much of our free time hanging out with this bunch of scoundrels. Kelly's eyebrow rose in response. And what, may I ask, is that supposed to mean? I sighed, but continued, "You know, I have nothing in common with any of the guys, and I feel like a victim when I'm alone with any of their wives. At the last barbecue here, Pam made it clear that all I had to do was nod, and she would have dragged me into our bedroom. And by the way, I didn't like the way her husband was monopolizing your time." I saw more than just a spark of anger flash in her insidious eyes. Her eyebrow rose even higher in irritation as she tensed. "I object to you calling our friends scoundrels, Jim. I don't even understand what's going on with you." So she started again with Jim. To poke me a little more, she remarked, "Maybe if you accepted Pam's offer, you wouldn't feel like such an outsider. I can't believe you weren't flattered by her attention." I felt a cold chill. A little verbal flirtation is one thing, but outright seduction is another, and my irritation showed in my response. "Aren't you worried that one of your best friends is hitting on me?" Kelly must have realized that she might have overstepped because she quickly backed down. "No, honey, that's not what I meant, Jim. Pam's just very outgoing, that's all. I'm absolutely sure she didn't mean anything by it. Now hurry up, and besides, I know how good I am, and I know that no other woman can compare to me. Now hurry up and be back on time this time." I was told that vanity is a feminine trait. Yes, it's like the ego we have as men, only it's more expensive and requires more effort to maintain. Kelly approached me one last time. "Play your cards right, and you might get lucky tonight." She lightly ran her finger over my cheek, turned seductively, and went into our bedroom. I sighed and grabbed my jacket and briefcase as I headed towards the door, rearranging myself as I pulled my keys out of my pocket. Crap, this woman knows how to work on me. From the very beginning of our marriage, Kelly chose not to work other than to volunteer for some charities, preferring to be a homemaker and, in the near future, a mother. Her decision never bothered me, although it had its drawbacks. This gave her a somewhat distorted idea of what it takes to provide for a home. When I should have been enjoying the evening ahead, I couldn't shake the feeling of impending disaster hanging over my head. I just couldn't figure out what was going on, but for the past couple of months, something wasn't going the way it should have been in our house. This party was at Caroline and Benjamin's, and as we walked through the house into the backyard, I noticed a group of 4 couples socializing intimately in the gazebo. Perhaps it was my wild imagination, but everyone had a conspiratorial look about them. I was relieved that there were at least a half-dozen other couples and a few singles there, so there seemed to be enough people here to occupy my time without requiring me to spend the entire night interacting with what I assumed to be the Kelly gang. I was not surprised when Kelly directed us straight to the gazebo. The miracles never stopped. They were followed by a chorus of loud cheers. "Cal, Jimmy, damn it, these freaks just won't stop shortening my name," was my first thought, and the evening hadn't even started yet. Nothing annoys me more than having my name misrepresented. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Damn, he's picky about his name. Look at it this way. Let's say you came to my house, and I asked what you would like to drink, and you said coffee. What would you expect? You would expect to be given coffee, wouldn't you? Well, this crowd of morons will serve you tea. Now, if you like tea, then no problem. But if you are like me and absolutely hate tea, this is a bit of a slap in the face in my opinion. Enough about this topic. Glad to see you arrived at a decent time, Carol hinted not so subtly. Okay, I'm known to be late to events sometimes, especially those related to the Kelly gang. My face darkened, but I controlled my anger. Carol, Ben, Pam, Chad, Liz, Norm, Sue, Mal. Do you all look very cozy there? To hell with them. They don't care what they're called, and I try to be accommodating, but sometimes it just gets on my nerves. Their names are actually Caroline and Benjamin, Pamela and Chadwick, followed by Elizabeth and Norman, and Suzanne and Malcolm bringing up the rear. Okay, you got me. I can forgive Chad because who wants to name a child Chadwick? Chad is already bad enough. And Beth, Liz, Eb, don't know? Damn, this woman will answer to any name they give her. She has more name variations than Spanish names. However, I understand why. You see, she only has 2 gray balls floating in that neatly styled hairstyle and no map for them to find each other. You guessed it, she's fucking dumb. Call her crap and she'll laugh at you. Pam stood up to greet Kelly. OMG woman, you look like you could be eaten. Kelly laughed at the compliment. Sometimes I seriously wonder why I married Kelly. She can sometimes be almost as flighty as they come, and I winced inwardly, feeling my negative feeling only growing stronger. Norm separated from Mal to allow Kelly to squeeze through. Don't mind James, he's just a little stressed about work, isn't he, darling? Kelly waved at me. Come on, honey, there's still room here. Beth and Sue won't mind if you sit between them. Sue moved to the side, patting the spot next to her, while Beth winked at me and remarked, I won't bite too hard. Then she fucking laughed again. God, she could actually do 2 thought processes at once. I thought, is she really being trained? Okay, I think it's time to describe these so-called Kelly friends, and I use the term friends with caution. Carol makes me feel like she's sitting on a branch, watching everyone, waiting for the right moment to pounce. Does the image of a vulture come to mind? Well, that's the way it should be, because that's how she looks at you. You already know about Beth, the silly girl, but Carol's husband Ben is her equivalent. He has a saying that is amazing in itself. Use it or lose it. Okay, this isn't particularly profound, but I get the impression that's why he's all so muscular. What can I say about Pam and Chad? Okay, how about it, united slippery types? I'm sure they were making out with each other even before they came out of the capsule. Like that, 2 peas, a marriage created in. I don't know. If this is not hell, then I'm sure they will go there in the afterlife. Does my bias show? Too bad. While Beth may be silly, she doesn't pretend to be smart. Norman, her husband, thinks he's Einstein, but I can see where his thinking is a little flawed. Hell, if you spent as much time with Beth as he did, you'd start thinking that way too, wouldn't you? In fact, his ick is 10 points lower than mine, and I'm definitely not a genius. And this is based on the results of that stupid test that they all thought was a fun idea at the time. I got 125, as I said, no genius, and Norman reacted a little annoyed when he didn't get the perfect score. Mal's wife, Sue, is a talker. No joke, if there were radars for speech, then she would have gotten a fine for speeding in the school zone, and for those who don't know, for us it's 40 kilometers per hour. I keep forgetting to buy a pocket recorder so I can later replay her conversation at half speed just to see if there is any meaning behind it. Or not, because frankly, I get tired just listening to this bitch. Last but not least, Mal, good old Mal. Let me first qualify my assessment here. I can be cheerful or joke. Sometimes it goes down like lead or goes through like a fart in a perfume store. I have moments, sometimes I miss the target, and sometimes I can score a goal. It all depends on the company I'm with and how much I've drunk. I can be romantic, especially when nice breasts and legs come into play, but I also have setbacks, and again, it's all relative to how much alcohol I've had. Take our anniversary last year, for example. I remembered this event for the first time. Holy duck. Believe it or not, ask Kelly, and she'll tell you otherwise. I suppose it was entirely my fault that I stopped at the tavern on the way home with half a dozen long-stemmed roses and a box of chocolate. Well, wouldn't you do the same? I felt good remembering this monumental case, the big heel. Okay, so be it. I'm a little late. These things happen from time to time. Now I'm glad I live only a couple hundred yards from the tavern, although it didn't save my ass at all. They say if you drink and drive, you are a bloody idiot. Now I completely agree, because if I didn't drive, I wouldn't be sitting on those damn roses. I woke up the next morning with a pink stem attached to my ass and a head the size of a damn watermelon. That's not the worst part. Hell no. I staggered out to the car, surprised it was even parked in the driveway. Next to the driver's door lay the companions of the stalk stuck to my ass. Damn it, I don't know where the chocolates went. Now I'm really in trouble and not in the way I planned. Well, a bouquet of long-stemmed roses without red balls on top and without chocolate doesn't look so attractive anymore, does it? The last thing I remember was my friends patting me on the back, congratulating me on a memorable day, and the fact that I remembered it. On that day, and not a damn week later, wondering why I was in the doghouse. But I'm still in the doghouse, aren't I? Isn't intention supposed to matter? Well, don't think that I'm a drunk. I rarely get drunk, maybe once or twice a year. Most of the time, I only drink 1 or 2 cans of medium-strength beer, and everything is fine. I just have problems with timing. I can be serious and intellectual, but it's better to do it sober. So you see, I can change depending on the situation, enough time to get into the role. Are you with me? Do you understand where I'm coming from? But I'm not a damn switch. God, Norm is the worst woman when it comes to changing his mind. So you see, Mal is a completely different couple of sheep act. Good old Mal chameleon. That's right, a real chameleon. No matter who he's with, he takes on their mannerisms. It blends in with its surroundings, to the point of annoying white noise. If everyone else is mean, he's just as bad. But if they're nice, he can do somersaults and become nice so quickly that you'll get dizzy just looking at him. Now you know the reasons why I don't want to be around this crowd. But I digress. Where were we? Oh yes, that's right. I've been lured into the lion's den. I raised my hand at the thought. I think I'll go get some drinks first. Chad raised his beer can. As long as you're there, the other one won't bother me. Jimmy, old man. I heard the intonation in his voice and felt my hair stand up. Calm down, James, old man, he's just teasing you, I thought to myself, so I ignored him and asked, anyone else need a glass filled while I'm here? 5 minutes, 5 damn minutes, I muttered to myself as I headed towards the bar. It's only been 5 minutes, and I already want to strangle every last one of these idiots. After I brought the tray of drinks, I saw Liz and Sue out of the corner of my eye. They were still giggling like stupid schoolgirls on a first date and clapping the seat, obviously inviting me to sit down. Oh, I forgot to say, these so-called women are not teenagers. No, they are in their 20s to early 30s, so now you see why I think their giggling needs to stop. I placed the tray in the suggested spot and took my drink. I just saw Franklin there. I think we'll see how his work on the boat is going. Good old Franklin, a lifeguard of extraordinary magnitude. No, really, he's a lifeguard, you know, patrolling the beaches looking for damsels in distress. Or in that dress. Without giving anyone time to object, I turned around, but not before seeing the disappointment written all over Kelly's face. I'm here, dear. You led the horse to the watering hole, but don't expect me to drink with your hangers on. I chuckled to myself. I love it when I manage to win. Hey, don't judge too harshly. You'd love it too if you saw my stats. I managed to spend most of the evening avoiding close contact with Kelly's gang, but kept an eye on her and her accomplices. Kelly was never out of sight for more than 5 to 10 minutes, although she disappeared quite often, which annoyed me. After I had calmly mingled and chatted with most of the guests, Caroline cornered me at the makeshift bar. There you are, stranger. I turned around to see Caroline pouring herself some white wine. Hey, Carol, the party is going well. I had to say something, and it was as neutral a remark as I could come up with off the top of my head. I actually felt awkward, but was able to hide it. I couldn't help but notice how Carol turned and scanned all stage, giving me the opportunity to see the line of her bust, and unless I was wrong in my guess, she cannot wear a bra. Yes, I think everyone is having a good time. Are you having a good time, Jim? Carol turned to me and looked straight into my eyes. Is something bothering you, Jimmy? You seem a little distant today. Did I mention the constant misrepresentation of my name? I'm sure yes. I know I've raised this issue with them on numerous occasions. None of the idiots seemed to care about my position on this issue. Now I just had to accept that they weren't going to give up. I'm repeating myself, aren't I? Sorry. Kelly says I'm used to it, says I get distracted a lot too. With an inaudible sigh, I joked, "No, not really, Carol. Why do you ask?" At the very last minute, I realized that my question had elicited a damn answer that I didn't want to hear one bit. Carol chewed her bottom lip for a second. "Ooh, it's nothing special. Ab just thought that maybe she said or did something to offend you when you first came. She didn't mean anything by the bites." If Beth just got a new identity, I wonder if the IRS people know they are dealing with multiple personality disorder when they deal with Elizabeth McIntyre. Think about it. Norm ends up in bed with different women every night. Maybe he's not as dumb as I thought. Nah, no matter how many women you think you're friends with, it must be stressful for you, especially if they all have the same two gray cells. I studied Carol's face to see what, if anything, it revealed. It didn't sound like anxiety, or even more like hesitation. It's hard to tell from the vultures, who always look hungry. "No, Carol, I'm fine." Beth can stop worrying. Her statement didn't upset me at all. I just feel a little uncomfortable in difficult situations. Franklin offered to take me and Kelly water skiing after he got his boat seaworthy. I just wanted to see if he had finished repairing the motor. Carol brightened considerably. "Oh, damn. When will I learn to keep my big mouth shut?" "Oh, in that case, I just need to show you something." I groaned internally as Carol took my hand and almost pulled me inside the house. "Benny and I went skiing with Frank and Ivy last summer. I have pictures of us on the boat. Do you want to see them?" I cursed myself silently. Well done, James. Your ick just dropped below Beth's. But he agreed to Carol's request. "Of course, I'd like to see the boat." When Carol opened the photo album, she snuggled closer, rubbing her shoulder against my arm as she flipped through the pages. I, in turn, tried to keep my distance, but with little success. From time to time, I still looked towards the sliding glass door, trying to get Kelly's attention. She and the others did not look in this direction, but chatted animatedly among themselves. Carol talked more about Evie and her bikini, or lack thereof, than about the boat they were sitting on. "Like what you see, Jimmy. We had a great time that weekend, skiing and lazily sunbathing. Maybe we can have a group day off after Frank gets his boat back on the water." That's when I backed down. Carol turned her back to the glass door as she placed the album on the coffee table, allowing her top to open a little more and give me even more of a look. Holy macaroni, she's not wearing a bra. I told you how good her breasts look, didn't I? Now she gave me a front row seat. You know, I don't understand what women say about men who look at their breasts and not at their faces. If they put it out there, they can't be mad at us for watching. I have reprimanded Kelly several times when she was showing off more than I was comfortable with when we were in public. Her standard response to this is, "Oh, I didn't know." See something else you like, Jimmy? Something you want to take a closer look at? Okay, what do you guys think I was thinking at that moment? Well, you're wrong. I suddenly felt like I had become food. Memo to self. I apologize to every woman I've ever looked at like that. While this can be wonderful if you are interested in it, it is definitely intimidating, almost terrifying, if you have no intention of going down that path. I actually found myself staring at Carol's cleavage, and as good as it looked, I felt beads of sweat form on my forehead. I glanced at the door. Kelly and the others still weren't looking that way. Hell, there's never a cop around when you need one, but just like women, do something wrong, and they'll be right on your tail, ready to cuss you out. I had a clear feeling that it was an ambush, that they were waiting for something to happen. Admittedly, Carol was good at the seduction game. Nothing too overt, just subtle hand movements to get my attention. Her perfume was familiar, one of those that Kelly always uses to drive me crazy. Now it was obvious, and I suddenly wondered if she had taken it from Kelly specifically for this purpose. If it weren't for her last remark, I could have ignored the tackles and continued to enjoy the performance, but this was too much. "Are you like this with all your guests, Caroline?" Carol's face paled slightly as she removed her hand, not expecting such a reaction. My tone didn't sound questioning, because it certainly wasn't, which made her fidget with the belt around her waist nervously. What's that supposed to mean? I finally reached my breaking point. "Don't play dumb, Caroline. You're not Elizabeth. I feel like every time Kelly and I go to one of your little parties, I'm fending off the advances of one or the other of your friends. It seems like you're all you think that I am the kind of husband who cheats on his wife. Let me disappoint you, Caroline. I have no intention of breaking my marriage vows." Carol seemed to shrink. "I will not cheat on my wife for anything in the world. This includes you and your girlfriends, Caroline. I'm not interested in how you interact with each other, and I don't want to know. If you and the others truly loved your husbands, then you and they would not have tried to force me to play house with you, and you certainly would not have done what you just did." My face was now a mask of the disgust I felt, and I walked towards the sliding door and called out to my wife, "Kelly, we are leaving, now." Kelly turned around from talking to Chad and Ben. "What? Are you kidding me? What's wrong, honey? Why do we have to leave so early?" Carol quickly left the house and shrugged as she approached Kelly. I can read lips quite well and saw Kelly ask, "What the hell happened?" As far as I could tell, Caroline, she just shook her head and continued walking. Kelly walked into the living room and looked at me expectantly. "We're leaving, and I don't want to hear any objections from you about this," I growled. Kelly looked over her shoulder to the outside and then back at me. "What the hell happened to you, James? What did you say to her?" Caroline looked like she was going to cry. "I doubt it," I started sharply. "I'm tired of these Stepford wives. Consider your adultery friends out of reach, as far as I am concerned. Go here, they make me sick." Kelly perked up and sharply replied, "James Barrymore, take your words back. These are good people and our friends. If you upset Carol, you better go back there and apologize." I gave her that "who the hell does she think she is" look, and then just snorted. "Friends don't hit on their friend's husband. Good people don't act the way your so-called friends act. I'm leaving at 5. If you're not in the car by then, you can walk home alone." She didn't have that far to walk, though, only a mile or so, but with the heels she was wearing, you could multiply that distance by 10, and considering how tender her feet were, she wouldn't even think about taking them off. Kelly had never seen me so angry. Don't get me wrong, I can be a lot more angry than I was at that moment, although she didn't know it and tried to soften the situation a little. "Please, James, there must have been some mistake. I'm sure we can work it out." I just stared at her and heard her voice fade as I walked towards the front door. "James, wait a minute. I need to grab my purse and shawl. Don't go anywhere." Kelly must have gone back to her group's backyard. Damn it, Christ. What happened to a nice, quiet evening followed by a night of love? I got into the car and looked at the clock, 2 minutes 27 and counting down. The atmosphere in the car on the way home was so cold that there could have been icicles hanging from the rearview mirror. We were both silent, me with white knuckles on the steering wheel and Kelly with a sour expression on her face, staring out the window, lost in her thoughts. As soon as we entered our house, Kelly opened fire. "Damn it, James, you embarrassed me tonight. I don't understand what all the fuss was about." I stopped halfway to the bedroom. "For your information, my dear wife, I have a very bad attitude towards infidelity, and I value our marriage vows. Carol and her hangers-on tried their best to force me to break my vows, to abandon all others." I began to lose my composure and raised my hands in despair. "I give up. I'm going to bed before I say something we'll both regret. You are walking. Kelly, however, had other plans and was more than a little annoyed. If you go to bed feeling like that, you might ruin your chances of having a good night tonight, or until you become polite, Jimmy. Okay, maybe I was a little unrealistic with my optimism. Have you ever seen a dog chasing a female? He keeps trying, and she bites his head off until she's ready. Stupid, right? And I'd feel just as stupid if I weren't a little pissed at the Kelly gang for ruining my evening. God must be a woman. After all, who in their right mind gives all the attraction to one and all the attraction to another? Pretty bad design, if you ask me. As for women, they simply do not understand the saying, the chance you miss will never come back. It's a damn axiom. Think about it for a second, and you have to agree. Perhaps it would be appropriate here to give you a little background about my loving wife. I met Kelly about 7 years ago at the races, and after a year of courtship we got married, to the surprise of both our parents. There were 1 or 2 divorces on both sides. My father caught his first wife cheating on him with his next-door neighbor, and she ended up bringing him to light. She found a good lawyer, and he ended up being deceived. Kelly's mother, Marcy, had 2 husbands, but unlike my father's first wife, she did not cheat. She also found herself deceived by both of them. The former was able to drink and gamble away the family finances before sneaking out into the night, leaving her to work 3 jobs to pay off her debts. The second, with whom she had a son, left with his secretary, emptying his bank account for his needs and never paying a penny for child support. One of those irresponsible fathers, I guess. Kelly is the daughter of Conroy, her 3rd husband. A real martyr, reminds me of that damn dog. So you see, they didn't have much faith that love conquers all, which makes you wonder why they kept coming back to this again and again. What they did was make us sign a prenuptial agreement so that if the marriage did end up breaking down for one reason or another, both parties would be protected. Neither of us wanted to think that way while we were in the arms of wonderful love and romance. Everything was going well until Kelly met up with her gang again, and I mean exactly that. Apparently these hangers-on went to school with her. Well, the female part of this company anyway. This immediately puts me at a disadvantage, doesn't it? I studied in Western Australia. I got into a little run-in with Know-It-All Norman when he tried to convince me that everything was bigger in Texas, even bigger than Queensland. What a moron, I asked him. Texas has a 2-mile-long coal train, and this is the only one that has only 2 locomotives in the front. It is located in Port Augusta, South Australia. I have seen some in Queensland that have 2 locomotives in the front and 2 in the middle, a hell of a long distance apart. I told him that England fits within Queensland 12 times when it comes to land area, and it is only the 2nd largest state in Australia, after Western Australia. It makes big old Texas look like nothing more than a suburban backyard. I won't tell you about our dispute over the roads of Germany versus Australia. They want 40 lanes on this damn Autobahn, in both directions. If Texas is the backyard, then Germany is the garden in the back corner, with ants running all over the place. Damn idiot. Kelly had to step in between us after that comment about Texas. I admit, the beer flowed like a river, and I had some problems with self-control. One more smart comment from him, and he'd be spitting his teeth out next week. International fucking tourist, come on. Ask him anything about Australia, and all he can tell you is what his damn house looks like. This idiot wouldn't have put the shoes on the right feet, unless the heels said L and R. Oh yeah, Kelly. She and I walked apart, like a step fire in a strong wind, until they appeared, and since then everything has changed. Kelly gets quarrelsome when she doesn't get her way. I know I've found myself on the end of her acidic tongue more than once, but it's not the worst weapon in her arsenal. If her tongue can be described as a jackknife that verbally cuts and slashes, then sex is an atomic bomb, and she knows how to manipulate it with the precision and dexterity of a weapons master. So the next thing that happened probably won't surprise you. I heard her comment about how lucky I am. Why does your wife always make you feel like you're paying for a little love? Moreover, why should I be the one who gets lucky? Heck, she might be lucky if I buy her a pearl necklace or a new outfit. But when has she ever bought me tools or a fishing rod, Of course she hasn't. My father tells me all the time that the only difference between wives and prostitutes is that you know what you're paying for when you hire a prostitute, and if she doesn't give you what you want, then you're free to go further and find the one that will give. Once you get married, that's it, you're in trouble. Or not, whatever happens. He says not only are you paying for it until you get what you want, but you're also paying for the bitch to cheat on you with someone else after she walks away with half of your property. You should see Marcy and the father fighting. Hell, we should keep them separate for the sake of peace and tranquility in the family. I almost ended up on the floor when I asked him, "So why did you get married a second time?" I quickly left because I didn't think he had an answer for that. Hard experience has taught me that when Kelly is in this mood, it usually takes days before she calms down enough to warm up and start talking rationally. "I'm tired, Kelly. If you want to come to bed, I'm not stopping you. But if you think I'm going to sleep in the guest room or on the damn couch just because you have a bomb, then think again." With these words, I walked up the stairs. Kelly was now on the verge of hysterics and well on her way to sheer rage. I know it was my fault, and I take full responsibility for those last words, but there comes a point when you just have to say, "To hell with it." I saw how Kelly hesitated a little, and this gave me confidence, if not in winning this argument, then at least in a draw. "I'm not going to sleep with an arrogant asshole like you." With that, she grabbed her nightgown and hurried into the guest bedroom, slamming the door behind her. This actually surprised me because I half expected our bedroom door to slam in my face. See what I mean? I won the argument, but lost the night of passion. I consider it a draw. And don't think that if you lose an argument, you can get action on the other end. No, really, I ran into this early in our marriage, lost a bet, and all I got was her triumph because she won, and I was annoyed because I knew why she won. And then it escalated into the second round. Did I lose by default, or was it my fault? The devil knows. I just know that I lost in both cases. Lose-lose for me. It all ended in screams. So no, I don't give up on arguments anymore. The best you can hope for is a draw, one way or another. In my opinion, the whole incident was over. I know, eternal optimist. Remember the dog? Yes, it is instinctive, ingrained in us men, just like credit cards and shopping in women. So if men were not eternal optimists, the entire human race would stagnate. The temperature in the house remained cool for the next couple of days, but Kelly had other plans and returned things to normal on Saturday morning at breakfast. "James, we need to talk, honey. It's stupid how we go around each other." "I don't have a problem, Kelly. It's you and your friends who have problems. They just won't leave it alone, and you keep them going all the time. Until you make them back down, I see this winter chill in the air lasting longer. For a long time." Kelly was clearly shaking with excitement. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill. All our friends love you and just want to get to know you better, that's all. It's like your name. Why is it so important that everyone calls you James and not Jim or Jimmy? You're shortening their names, so why are you so scrupulous about yours?" "Love? You've got to be kidding. Okay, Kelly, the thing is, I don't like hypochoristics. I like my name the way my parents intended it. If my mom and dad wanted me to be called Jim or Jimmy or some stupid house jargon, that's what they would have called me at baptism. But they baptized me James. I don't know why, but they did, and I don't want to distort it. As for me shortening their names, I wouldn't do it. They just seem to like it. So I go along and try to make them feel comfortable. Something they have no desire to do for me. I might add." My ardor rose and I exploded again. "And that's not all. You weren't there when Caroline almost released her breasts for my supposed viewing." I saw Kelly almost laugh with her hand over her mouth when she heard that, and that made me even angrier. "Now you're going overboard, honey. How about I talk to them and try to find some kind of compromise?" I swallowed the rest of my coffee before heading out to tend to the garden. Standing up, I finished. "I don't care what you say or do to them, as long as I don't have to violate my morals or our marriage. And one more thing. Make sure that their husbands know that I won't be happy either if one of them tries to start something with you. Say what you want, just make them fucking back off." I turned and walked out the back door. Again, I could tell Kelly wanted to scream. She was so angry. Instead, she left the house and went to her neighbor Pam. The next morning, I went to work early just to avoid another lecture from Kelly. I needed time to think, and I do this best at work, where there are few distractions. After a whole day of doing nothing in thought or work, I set out that same day. What I saw in front of me did not improve my mood one iota. 3 cars blocked the entrance to my garage, and based on the make and model, I had no choice but to conclude that Kelly was entertaining her flock of clucking geese. I opened the door to a cheerful chorus of women as Kelly turned to welcome me home. "Hi, honey, do you look tired? Come here and sit while I get you something to drink so you can relax," she said. I waved my hand, letting go. "I won't interrupt your girl talk. I'll just grab a beer and some cheese and crackers to tide me over until dinner." I dropped my briefcase, loosened my tie, and went to the kitchen, trying not to notice the women's glances. After eating and drinking, I went out to the patio for some peace and quiet. Not even 5 minutes later, the crowd came out and gathered around, and Kelly stood closest to me. Honey, can we talk for a moment?" I sighed. It was the last thing I wanted, but for the sake of harmony, I agreed. "I'm really tired, Kelly, and I just want to relax for 5 minutes, but if it doesn't take long, then by all means be my guest." I looked Kelly straight in the face, but she looked like she didn't know where to start until Pamela popped up. "G. James, the reason we are here is because we need to apologize. It seems all of us girls made you feel uncomfortable, and that wasn't our intention." Pam stopped. I was supposed to gauge my reaction, and when I didn't seem bothered, she continued. "Kelly is upset that you and her are fighting, and it seems like it's all because we did something that you think is inappropriate, and we just want to say how sorry we are for any misunderstanding." I nodded, but still said nothing, and Kelly took the reins. "I think all of this may have been a little my fault, dear. You see, when us girls get together and start talking, well, in the bedroom, if you know what I mean. And well, the girls started talking and curiosity got the better of them, and well, in the first few minutes of this confession, I was confused in many ways. No one actually came forward and said directly what they meant. I raised my hand to stop her. "Wait a minute, Kelly. Are you saying that you were telling our friends about our conversations about sex?" Kelly must have noticed how my face was getting redder by the minute. I know because I felt the heat rise to my neck. "It's not what you think, love. I thought I could make your greatest fantasy come true. You know, the one where we try a threesome. You always said that it's your favorite option. I thought maybe we could try, like, sort of something." She fell silent, probably wishing she had started this little conversation. I felt a heavy lump grow in my stomach, and I wanted to bite someone's head off. "Can't you be serious, Kelly? I don't like it when my innermost thoughts and feelings are shared with the whole neighborhood. The guys and I talk about women in general all the time, but I back off when it comes to you and I doing it together. How would you feel if I told all my mates at the pub that you like to be on your knees by the front door, beer in hand, wearing only heels and ready to do something special for me when I get home from work?" Okay, that's another fantasy, and I'd be more than happy to see it come true. Not that that would ever happen. Well, what do you expect? However, this stopped them. There were 5 pairs of eyes the size of plates. If I remember correctly, every time this issue was raised, I also clarified it by saying that I had no intention of doing this. So that's why these women were following me. Damn, I was angry. I threw a half-empty bottle of beer across the deck. "Don't crucify me for this, okay? I know it's blasphemy." To my surprise, she fell off the chair without spilling a drop. I'll have to remember to tell the tavern guys about this. Okay, I would have been delighted if it weren't for the fact that I was so angry at Kelly. How about, instead of your pointless gossip with these neighborhood girls, you do what a good wife who doesn't work to bring in a paycheck, I might add, should do first, and that's our damn dinner on the damn table. The woman took 2 steps back and cowered under my pressure. "I'll be done in an hour after I clean up and go over some bills. Make sure of that, and I'll be more than damn happy in the whole damn house, not just in this damn bedroom. I got out of the lounge chair and headed into the house. To say I was furious is an understatement. Pale would be closer to my true feelings. Now she saw how angry I can be. I heard Kelly get angry as I walked past the back door. Then she started sobbing uncontrollably. I was confused again. Women do this to us men. I think they take great pleasure in making us squirm. What didn't make sense was that, when this all started, I was upset about missing out on a night of passion. Okay, bad luck, whatever you want to call it. And she was mad because I was being sassy about her fucking friends. Now I'm angry and she's crying. I went upstairs and took a shower. Maybe things will get better once I feel a little more normal. Kelly was slamming pots in the kitchen, I guess trying to ease her disappointment when I returned to find myself in a minefield. Why are you so angry now, Kelly? I didn't do a damn thing to justify this behavior. She then confused me again by directly telling me what was bothering her. Now, if I could work out the molecular structure of this and synthesize it, and then bottle what made it do this, I'm sure I'd be on top. Sorry, for those who don't understand, we're talking about money here. Kelly stopped what she was doing and turned around. Because I damn well thought I was doing something loving for my husband, and all I got out of it was verbal abuse and humiliation. I don't understand you anymore, James. This was supposed to be one of your fantasies, and all I get from you is grief. This stopped me. Kelly rarely swears, so she must be angry. No, I mean really angry. She wiped a tear from her face. All my friends probably laugh at me, thinking that I have a husband of the wrong orientation who is not interested in women. I'm proud of you, James, and all I did was let my friends know it. So they kind of turned it into a game to watch. How good you really are, and what from this? I watched and waited until Kelly crossed her arm and stared at the floor. Being married to someone like Kelly allows me to understand the concept of thinking before I speak, but I don't always use that knowledge to its fullest potential. I walked over and put the pot of coffee on, giving myself time to think. I'm sorry I overreacted, honey, but it hurt me. I told you it was just a fantasy and I wasn't going to do anything about it. Kelly looked at me with an offended and confused look. That still doesn't explain why you don't want this to happen. I find it quite sexy. Damn it, James, I haven't thought about anything else since you told me about it. Tell me why you don't want this to happen. I sat down at the kitchen table and wondered if I should explain to Kelly the reason for my reluctance. This did not suit my conscience. Okay, Kelly, let's leave out the prenuptial agreement. Remember the one our parents just had to force us to sign. Besides that, you know what really annoys me? The only thing that pisses me off, my number one is hating pets. Kelly unsuccessfully wiped away a tear running down her face and thought for a moment. Besides, do people shorten your name? I chuckled to myself, damn women. Yes, dear, except for that. Kelly shook her head. I have no idea. Hypocrisy is my biggest pet peeve. I can't stand hypocrites, and if I allowed myself to indulge in this fantasy, I would be the biggest hypocrite on this earth. And for your information, I do agree to our prenuptial agreement. I have all the normal hormones and fantasies like any red-blooded man. But now that I'm married, I'll have to leave all that behind. Games like this are not suitable for any marriage, and as far as I can tell, especially not for ours. I looked at the tabletop and traced the outline of the pattern on the tablecloth. I love you very much, Kelly, and the last thing I want to do is make you unhappy. These last couple of months, and especially weeks, have been incredibly stressful for me due to this misunderstanding between us. You know, if you want to do this, go to bed with another man, I won't be able to handle it. It will tear me apart and break my heart. So I abandoned my fantasies. Aside for the good of our marriage. I'm doing this for you, Kelly. Now do you understand why I am so strongly against these games that you women play? Kelly suddenly looked both sick and angry. I say some fantasies should be left as such. Kelly's face hardened and the veins in her neck began to swell. The pressure grew under the mouth. You talk about disdain for hypocrisy, and in the next sentence you practice it. Decide, Jim, what is it? You can have fantasies, and you're saying I can't. I lowered my head because I had been here before. When Kelly gets into one of these moods, she refuses to listen to what is being said, but focuses on what she perceives as being said. You're not listening, honey. I never said you couldn't have imagination. What I'm saying is that some fantasies are best left alone, like mine. Kelly crossed her arms over her chest. Don't you think it's a little selfish? I looked at my angry wife again and wondered, why is she so insistent on this? I told her, yes, Kelly, it is extremely selfish and hypocritical and that makes all the difference if I follow through with this. I don't think I'm selfish or hypocritical. Let me ask you a question, since we are already talking about this topic, why are you so eager to make a mountain out of this stupid molehill? I saw Kelly turn pale at this question. What does it mean? My hair started growing again. There were red flags popping up throughout this entire conversation, and I didn't like the direction they were pointing. That means, dear wife, I'm a damn chemical engineer, and I know all about chain reactions. A little flirting here, a threesome or two there, then it's not far from swinging. Then someone gets jealous or hurt, and your marriage will explode in your face. Do you want to give me a great fantasy that I can live with? I guess you have something more on your agenda than simply fulfilling my fantasy. Kelly's face changed from pale to angry red in an instant. Mount Kelly was about to erupt, and it almost made me believe she had done more than just talk to her so-called friends. Kelly must have been at a crossroads here, her features tightening again as she bit the bullet. Okay, James, I admit I have something else in mind. You are right. I foolishly thought that if it was okay for you to get your wish, then it was only fair that maybe someday in the future I could indulge it. You know, I have fantasies too, but now it seems that you don't share as much as I do. It's a matter of selfish morals. Mount Kelly eruption. She threw the pan she was holding into the sink, turned and rushed to bed, slamming the bedroom door. Did she actually hear anything I just said? I shook my head in surprise, went into the living room and took my coat. I decided that I would enjoy my meal more if I didn't have to listen to Kelly throw things around in our bedroom. By the time I returned, Kelly had calmed down, but only slightly. As for where you sleep, if you want peace and quiet, the procession is 9/10, so I thought it prudent to sleep in the guest room, and I am still angry about today's afternoon little chat. Damn, this dog. The rest of the night repeated the events of the last few weeks. I slept little and felt fear hanging over my house. I got up early again. Mr. P. Stanton would like to see you in his office when you have a free moment, Mr. Barrymore, Annette chirped into the intercom. I pulled myself out of the chair. What the hell now? I muttered to myself. Leonard Stanton is the owner of Stanton Chemicals and a good friend of mine, but I wasn't in the mood to compete with him this morning. Go straight to Mr. Barrymore, he's waiting for you. I tried to smile, but it was not funny and purely for visual effect. Thank you, Tracy. Leonard looked at me as I entered his office. Don't stand there, James, looking unkempt. Sit down and tell me who stole your lollipop. We are with Leonard. We've been friends for over 10 years, when Leonard first brought me into the business straight out of university. What makes you think there's a bug in my ass, Leonard? He chuckled as he said, First of all, you missed your obligatory midget joke of the day. Secondly, James, every damn person here is giving you a wide berth. What's the matter, son? You've been acting like this for a couple of days now. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to remove those biohazard stickers? You pissed off someone, probably more than one, and some monkey pinned one to your lab door before you came in this morning. Fuck, that's how bad I am. I didn't even notice the scratches on the door. I've been having a bit of a conflict with Kelly lately. It's okay, something just doesn't add up. It's okay, I'll figure it out somehow. What's happening? What happened to you, son? I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass and say I'm here to help you for unselfish reasons, because I am interested in you being happy. What's bothering you? When it comes to troubled wives, you're talking to an expert here. When Leonard brought me into the company, the first thing I asked for was stock options in lieu of salary increases, so that I could retain control of my patents, if any. Leonard agreed to this because he was just starting out, and not having to increase his wage bill seemed attractive to him at the time. What he didn't count on was that his two ex-wives would walk away with half of everything he had, leaving me as a major shareholder, although he now considered it one of his even better deals. When his first wife left with half of everything, I got about an equal share with him and his ex, and when his second wife left, again with half, I got the casting vote. With my shares and Leonard's shares, we could simply veto any decision these two vultures tried to make regarding Leonard's business. I poured out all my worries and everything that had happened lately. Leonard sat and looked at me and then became serious. So you think she's cheating on you? It's a damn thing. Leonard, I don't know. I can't point to anything to say that this is the case, no hard evidence. No photographs, confessions, or even witnesses. She doesn't stay late. I don't know if she does that during the day, but every time I call my home phone, she is there, but that doesn't prove a damn thing. This is just my feeling, and now we're having this fucking stupid argument. It not only increases my feelings of anxiety, but it just scares the crap out of me. If I knew one way or another I could do something about it, that's half suspicion and half answer to the question. Hell, I can give you half a dozen good private investigators who will get the job done for a reasonable price. I don't want to pour water at an oil fire, but from bitter experience, you shouldn't hesitate too long in these matters, son. Damn, I wonder if Leonard even talked to my dad. I looked at Leonard with a growing sense of sadness. He was saying what I was thinking, and for a marriage, such thoughts could kill him more than a dodo. Don't you think it's too radical at the moment? Leonard looked down at the small clear plexiglass box sitting on his desk, containing 2 resin wedding rings. I understand your resistance, James. You love this woman and don't want to judge her unfairly, but at its worst, it's called denial, mate. Color it however you want, it still looks the same. Okay, I agree that I'm probably not the best person for you to talk to about this, but you need to do something, and damn fast, if it's not too late. How about some shocking action? James felt the cloud hanging over him gradually disappear. He turned Leonard's words over and over in his head, pondering every meaning. All this time he was afraid to admit to himself that his suspicions might be true. But now he knew that drastic steps had to be taken to find out the truth. In the evening, returning home, James noticed that Kelly was unusually calm. She was preparing dinner and smiling softly as if everything was fine. However, James knew that this outer mask could not hide her inner anxiety. He decided to talk to her right now, without delaying until later. Kelly, we need to talk seriously, he began, sitting down at the table. Kelly froze for a moment, then nodded and sat down opposite her. What do you want to talk about? Her voice was quiet, but there was hidden anxiety in it. About us, about our marriage, and about what's been happening between us in recent months. James tried to remain calm, although everything was boiling inside. Kelly sighed and looked away. She knew this moment was inevitable, but she still wasn't ready for it. James, I understand how you feel. I really understand. But everything is not as simple as it seems. Her words were full of sincerity, but James felt that there was something more behind them. What exactly are you trying to say, Kelly? His voice trembled slightly. You are cheating on me. Kelly looked him straight in the eye. There was something in her gaze that James had never seen before, a mixture of fear, sadness, and determination. Yes, James, I cheated on you. Her confession sounded like a bolt from the blue. James felt the ground disappear from under his feet. With whom? His voice became cold, like ice. Leonard. Her words were like a knife to the heart. James couldn't believe his ears. His best friend, the person he trusted the most, turned out to be a traitor. How long has this been going on? James could barely contain his anger. A few months. It started by accident. I didn't want it to happen, Kelly tried to explain, but her words only intensified James' pain. He got up from his chair and left the house, not wanting to listen anymore. He felt empty and betrayed. Thoughts were spinning in my head about what to do next. But he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't go back to the house and run into Kelly again. Several hours passed before James returned home. Kelly sat on the couch with her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked depressed and confused. "James, please forgive me." Her voice trembled. "I know I ruined everything, but I'm ready to do anything to fix it." James looked at her with cold determination. He knew it wouldn't be easy to forgive her, but he also knew that the love they had for each other deserved a second chance. "Kelly, I'm ready to try to start over. But for this, we both will have to try hard. And first of all, I want you to stop all communication with Leonard. This is our condition." His words were firm, but they sounded hopeful. Kelly nodded, realizing that she had no other choice. "I agree, James. I will do everything to save our marriage." Her voice was full of determination. A few weeks passed, and James and Kelly began to slowly rebuild their relationship. They went to consultations with a family psychologist, talked a lot, and tried to understand each other. It wasn't easy, but every step forward gave them new hope. However, life decided to give them another unexpected turn. One evening, as they were sitting at dinner, the doorbell rang. James opened it and saw Leonard on the threshold. His face was pale, and there was despair in his eyes. "James, Kelly, I need to talk to you. This is very important." His voice trembled. James reluctantly let him into the house. They sat down at the table, and Leonard began to talk. "I know it's too late to ask for forgiveness, and I don't deserve it. But there is something you should know." He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Kelly, you're pregnant, and I am sure that the child is mine." These words struck like lightning. James and Kelly looked at him in complete shock. Everything they had tried to rebuild was now in jeopardy. Kelly felt her world crumble. "What you said?" Her voice trembled. "I took a paternity test, and the results confirmed that I am the father. I understand that this will ruin your life, but I could not remain silent any longer." Leonard looked sincerely repentant, but this did not bring any comfort. James stood up and slowly walked towards the door. He knew that now he had to make the most difficult choice of his life. He loved Kelly, but could he accept her with another man's child? "I need time to think about everything." His voice was full of pain. "I don't know if I can handle this." Kelly looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. "James, please don't go. We will get through this together. I love you." Her voice was barely audible. James left the house, leaving her in tears. He knew that the decision he had to make would change their lives forever. But he also knew that somewhere deep inside he still loved her, and perhaps this love would help them overcome any difficulties. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.